welcome to the D3D4 Football Podcast with me, your host, James Richards. It's Sunday, the 28th of November, 2021. Welcome back to the D3D4 Football Podcast. On the show this week, we have a League One star coming down with a tragic medical emergency. We'll have a chat about that as we go through. We have some interesting histrionics between a well-renowned League One manager who likes to have his say on things. Quite an amusing one this week, which our resident Gillingham co-host will I'm sure have something to say. We've got yet another victory on the road for a very good away side, and we have all the roundup in League One and Two, as always, to go through. And as a bonus, we have a full complement of co-hosts this week. Ed, Chris and Dave all here. The first thing when we joined this call, I said to everyone was, how are you doing? And literally from half of this podcast came the reply, depressed. Which is always a good start to a Sunday morning. And I bet the people listening will know exactly which half that came from. Oh dear. Right. We are partnered with The Big Step. Great work they do in raising the awareness of the gambling problems for people and how it is affected by the saturation of gambling adverts in football that comes from just podcasts, shirt sponsorship, adverts in between every single advert break on most TV channels. It's a big problem. And if people want to know a bit more about how serious gambling addiction can be, there is a very interesting series running with Paul Merson involved at the moment, which I urge you to go and watch. It's quite an eye-opener. Pretty sad as well, to be quite honest. So, it's definitely worth your time, I would say. Big thank you to our patrons who make it possible for us to produce this podcast without needing to lean on any dodgy sponsorship deals. Although, we do have a Gillingham fan on here, so we do apologise in advance for that, because I don't think this week he's going to be particularly in a chipper mood. Chris, I have to give you credit. Despite supporting Oldham all your life and not seeing a single promotion, you seem to have weathered the storm reasonably well.
I'm still going.
Yeah. Though it's funny that you've just mentioned that you're off to Antarctica on Boxing Day, a game on which Oldham play at home to Scunthorpe, which is possibly the most we've named it the Who Will Finish Bottom Derby, so it's quite a depressing one, that I think.
I made the mistake of going yesterday. I've made my feelings clear in the past that I've been boycotting home matches, and just for various reasons, the local away days so far this season I've not been able to get to.
Good to see you giving Gary Neville another 10 million quid or whatever it is.
Well, yesterday I actually had a bit of spare time. Took my girlfriend along as well. It was her first football match, and I don't think she'll be going to another one anytime soon. And it was just dreadful. I mean, I really think we will go down this season. And it pains me to say it. I think so far this season I've mostly been shielded from it by not going and just sort of, yeah, we've lost, okay, get on with it. And yesterday, to be fair, we made a day out of it, and I wasn't too bothered, and I've woken up this morning just thoroughly deflated by what I saw yesterday.
You might want to say it was Selim Pickings. Anyway, we will move swiftly on and jump in to League One. League One. And I'm going to start League One, firstly by just saying, I'm sure I echo everyone on this podcast thoughts when we send them to Charlie Wyke, who collapsed in training this week, heart condition. In fact, 5 footballers, I believe, have collapsed in a very short period of time, might be the last 2 weeks, due to heart conditions. Now, one thing I will say, and this is something I'm quite passionate about, is that Charlie Wyke has not been vaccinated. So people using it for their stupid anti-vax agendas can just shut up, frankly. I'm not saying, I'm not for or against the vaccine. I just don't like people using situations to get an advantage when there's literally no truth in it. He has not been vaccinated. So what we want to see here is a real investigation as to what's caused this, so they find it, and not just pump out rubbish speculation that's based on nothing but people's obviously people have got an agenda with this, and I can't stand people using situations like this to further their own causes, which are frankly, tenuous at best. So heart goes out to Charlie Wyke. Really hope he has a full recovery and can get back playing soon. But just a few concerns really for footballers everywhere, because there's a lot of cardiac problems happening. We saw it with Christian Eriksen. I think there was a Sheffield United player as well. Am I right in saying?
Yes, there was. Yeah.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
And then a couple of, I think, Derma Traore as well recently had a heart problem. I mean, there's been plenty.
I've seen a couple out outside the UK as well. I think.
Sergio Aguero is the same. He's had to retire early due to a heart condition too.
That one is one he's had since he was a boy, though, wasn't it? Which has been managed. I just wonder what the rise is. I mean, we know I'm a big ice hockey fan, and we know that COVID has caused heart problems. The actual virus has caused heart problems in hockey players.
People tend to refer to it as respiratory illness, but I was trying to talk to a little while ago who was basically saying it affects every system pretty much. It's not just limited to your breathing apparatus. It does just damage everything.
There's a player who from Austria who was drafted by the Minnesota Wild. He had a heart. They had to send him home and tell him not to do anything for 6 weeks because he had COVID, and it caused an enlarged heart, I believe it was. And just got to be so careful. So hope they get to the bottom of this. Heart goes out to Charlie Wyke. We'll come on to how his team did without him yesterday, but we're going to start the game between Lincoln City and Accrington Stanley. And Ed, you and I were talking about this last week. This is going to be an important game because neither have been in good form, and Accrington probably set up to go there and make it difficult for Lincoln, get men behind the ball and try and get something on the counter. Colby Bishop has been missed. Last 3 games, of course, he's been out with suspension. Came back to score the winner. Accrington, we know, are a very good team. I think John Conn was hugely deflated by their defeat to Burton. But he'll be delighted with the way they've defended, the way they sort of kept Lincoln at bay. But this is a real problem now for Lincoln because has it been like 5 hours of football without them scoring? They really are struggling. And this is a Michael Appleton team. And everyone knows I love Michael Appleton, but he's struggling. There's no way I'm going to dress this up in anything other than it is. Lincoln City, the players that they've got, should be doing better. But guys, injuries, lack of forward options. They obviously couldn't get themselves the players they necessarily wanted late in the transfer window, which has probably affected them to some degree. You remember last year they had, was it Brennan Johnson and was it Rogers they had as well on loan? Those 2 players obviously not returning, and that's quite a big void they've got to fill, and they haven't done it. And Ed, we talked about it last week, but another defeat. And Michael Appleton admitted he is concerned about this.
I don't know if I feel necessarily concerned about them as in relegation concern. I'm just really overwhelmed by them. They've just been really below, I think, the kind of standard we've expected of them off the back of last season. Maybe expecting them to repeat last season was too high an expectation, given, like you say, the exceptional loan players they have and the fact they haven't really been able to get them back in or bring in replacements of similar quality. But it's just been a really underwhelming time for Lincoln at the minute. It's disappointing to see them that low down.
It is disappointing, and you guys know that I'm hot on them. I mean, Dave, what's your take on Lincoln? Because, of course, Oxford had a bit of this, but did recover later in the season when we lost in the playoff final. Obviously, Lincoln last season, similar situation. Are you overly concerned by them, or do you think that they just need to tweak a couple of things? They've had obviously injury problems. I look at their squad. It's quite a young squad. It's quite a young team, but there is quality in it. You'd think to do better than they are doing.
I'd absolutely agree. I mean, I think every side faces a poor run of form, and I think I'd echo Ed's comments really that things aren't going great for them right now. Of course not, but I'm not really concerned about them. I feel like the quality that they've got within the team, they're just a few games off clicking back. Like, we're still before Christmas at the moment. There's still plenty of the season to go. I don't think they've got any need to be concerned about being anywhere near the bottom 4 at any point, really, because I think there are much worse teams in the division at the moment. And, I think any team managed under Appleton, I know that obviously, as we've said, things aren't going great for them right now, but I don't see these struggles continuing for much longer. Like, I think that there will be changes that obviously need to be made, but I imagine a few tweaks and they should be right back up where they need to be.
I think it might be a lost season in terms of any sort of promotion ambitions, frankly. I could be wrong, but it would take a massive
I'd agree
effort.
in that sense. I think I agree that there's no kind of up or down. I think they're looking at a season where they're kind of probably hoping for maybe like a mid to high mid-table finish, but I don't see promotion hopes. But then I think this season is so challenging in terms of the teams that are in the division that any team that doesn't get off to near enough the perfect start was going to find this season a struggle enough to push towards those spots anyway.
Yeah, I think Crew's promotion hopes might be, a little bit optimistic.
Have some faith, James. Have some faith.
I do like the Lincoln team still, though. McGrandles, Bishop, Sorensen started as a three in the midfield yesterday. Fiorini is a player I labelled as the one to watch out for. I think he's got a lot of talent, but perhaps when you're in a struggling team, that's very difficult for lone players that come in, youngsters, to really do well. Maguire, great player. Can he find the form that he did in previous seasons working under Appleton? He's getting a bit older, so it's not so easy. But they do, they went to a 2 up front yesterday after conceding, and they threatened without really looking like scoring. And it's where that next goal's coming from, which worries me slightly. But we'll wait and see. We won't be all doom and gloom on them just yet. They've got Crewe next. That's a big game, December the 7th for them. Then they go to inform Cheltenham, but they have Doncaster at home and MK Dons at home. In the one before Christmas and then on Boxing Day. I mean, 6 points from those is a must, I would say. But we'll see what happens. It's got to be, isn't it? 6 points. It doesn't matter where it comes from. You might label the Doncaster and Crewe games as the key ones, but
I reckon you probably want 2 wins and a draw, really, if you're Lincoln.
Probably.
7 or 8 even.
Ideally, you'd beat Crewe and win both your home games, maybe, in a perfect world, and maybe even get something at Cheltenham. But the way they're playing, just try and get at least 6 points out of those next 4 games. Let's not do a disservice to Accrington, though. Good win for them. Really love this team. Love their.
They've needed that after shipping the amount of goals they have recently.
Yeah, they set up with a 4-4-1-1 essentially. Pell supporting Bishop and just trying to be hard to break down. Good shape. They kept their discipline. Coyle and Corneli did well in the central midfield role. Sykes and Nottingham had a better game. I've been a little bit disappointed with their defending, like Ed suggested in recent weeks, conceding far too many goals.
I don't think there was any defending, to be honest. I was at the midweek one against Burton, and a stronger, more confident side would have probably hit 7 or 8 past them.
It was.
They just was a mess.
Dreadful.
Absolute mess.
Indeed. Let's move on. Gillingham 0, Portsmouth 1. A own goal in the 93rd minute. He celebrated like they won the World Cup, said Steve Evans. So disrespectful. I always find it funny when Steve Evans
would do the exact same. Come on. He would do the exact
same. He wasn't a happy bunny at all.
He's never a happy bunny, though, is he?
Well, I quote, the celebrations on the bench resembled World Cup stuff. A bit disrespectful, really. It doesn't matter when you win. You should never be disrespectful. Sorry, I shouldn't.
What?
But we will take the pain and we will go again. I said pre-match that Portsmouth have got their Christmas with the lack of options we have, having 7 players missing and other players unfit, and they got their Christmas early, getting 3 points. It doesn't matter what they do for the rest of December. They've had their Christmas.
Steve Evans cannot lecture anyone on respect.
Yeah, I do. It's funny though because Danny Cowley was being a bit cheeky here, suggesting that he didn't have any recognised centre halves playing. I mean, come on, Danny. Conor Ogilvie is a recognised centre half. He's played there for like 3 years, but Evans did say it's a hard one to take because of the manner of it. They outplay us, and a lot of people are talking no more than Cowley himself that they felt they'd get an early goal and then see what they could do to us. He said, yeah, man on the moon. They deserve to get beat. We will listen to the nonsense from him and his superstars. They're nonsense. But if they are honest, which they never are, they will say they deserve to get beat. Quite funny. He went on to have a bit of a rant about the fact that Danny's comments about not having a recognised centre half was not true. You know, yeah. He said they had one player missing, Sean Raggett, and he's no world star, is he? He's a big, honest competitor in League One, local boy. But it's not a defensive crisis. He said Sean Williams, who also plays centre back, is a player I tried to bring in at Gillingham when Portsmouth offered him treble the money back when he came out of Millwall. He's a comfortable centre back in the Championship. Connor played many times for me at centre back. I moved him there for a long period. Poor Danny with that big budget, that big support and fantastic facilities. But good luck to him. Oh, Steve Evans, the gift that keeps on giving. Dave, you were at this game. The referee was poor, let's be honest. But it is, firstly, without putting too much of a Gillingham bias on it, please. What do you make of the game? I gather that you think, and most Gills fans would think, you deserve something from it.
I mean, I'd have to agree. I think that, in fairness, I think it was partly really, really poor officiating and partly us being our own worst enemy. John Akinde has missed probably the best chance we've had all season to score 1-on-1. He's somehow outpaced, like, there's one chance he gets where he somehow outpaces their entire defence, gets through 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper and puts the most tame shot towards Bazanu that I think I've ever seen.
Although Bazanu did do a very good impression of a rugby tackle in this game on John Akinde.
Honestly, I don't understand how it's not a penalty. I'm still raging at it. I just don't
you're in
get
League
it.
One and referees decide what they want.
I just don't get it. Like, there's no attempt to play the ball. That's from where I'm sitting in the stadium and from watching the highlights as well. There is no way that Dean Whitestone should not be given a penalty there.
When are they going to make refs professional at that level?
Well, there's all this money coming into the Premier League from ESPN or wherever it is. So come on, there's no time like the present.
It's just ridiculous. Like, I just don't understand how that's not a penalty. For me, right at the end, like, it's a hard decision for him to make, sure, but I just don't think the throw-in that then ends the throw-in for them shouldn't have even have been theirs. It comes off their player. Like, then obviously they get ball into the box in a danger area, and it's just unfortunate it's come off Jack and gone in. But, I mean, don't get me wrong, for most of the game we didn't look like scoring. We had a couple of chances, didn't take them, probably should have had a penalty. There's a couple of times that they may have scored if it wasn't for the heroics of Jamie Cumming, who has been ridiculous for us.
He's brilliant goalkeeper, isn't he? He really is a great young goalkeeper.
we would be bottom of the league if it wasn't for him.
You can tell Stevenage fans about Jamie Cumming. They'll have some stories as well.
But this is what I mean. We would be bottom of the league by a significant amount if it wasn't for how good that kid is. Like, he is ridiculous.
He might still end up there, to be fair.
Yeah, very possibly at this rate, honestly. But I think the other thing I will say is that I think it's really rich for Danny Cowley to come out with comments about an injury crisis so-called when the opposition he's facing have the majority of their players out and are fielding a bench of youth players, and he's got the gall to come out and say that they've got an injury crisis because of one of two players.
It's shithouse at its finest. That is, it's very, very.
It really.
He knows what he's doing.
Oh, of course he does. But yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to take that. Obviously
he's
they
playing
will.
Steve Evans like a violin, to be fair.
Oh, I know.
He knows what he's doing.
But
he's one of the easiest men to wind up, though, isn't he, Steve Evans?
Of course
yeah,
he
imagine
is, yeah.
You just take his pie before he's finished. Cool.
To be fair, though, I kind of echo Evans' words, just in a very minor sense. Not everything he said, but I do agree with, as we spoke about before the podcast started, I absolutely agree with his comments in regards to Conor Ogilvie, like, being a recognised centre half. I also agree with the fact that I don't necessarily think that they were, I think they were lucky to get something out of the game, but obviously the most frustrating thing from a fan perspective is the manner in which we lost the game. I wouldn't care if we lost the game and it was just, a 1-0 victory in any other way, but an own goal in 30 seconds from time, after, a penalty shout being shot down, which, I'm still fuming at, but, and the fact that we had the 1-on-1 that Akinde absolutely should have scored, in my opinion, we probably should have on a different day. And I actually think if we had Vidane Oliver playing, then we probably would have won that game 2-0 with, different day, different official as well. But I don't know. I think it's challenging times for us at the moment, and it's going to be a real struggle. We've got lots of players out. I have no idea when half of them are back.
When's Dempsey back? Because did he play?
Well, he didn't play, but he's got a chest infection. So for him, it could be 4 weeks, or it could be at least a month or so. So it might not be until after Christmas.
He's
that
key.
He's back
From
on.
every game I've watched from Gillingham this season, he's been. When you came to the Kassam Stadium, he was such a good player. Such a good player.
But he's been so integral. He is the glue that holds most of this team together, and he is our main source of just any kind of creativity. The problem is without him, and then without Vidane Oliver to be that sort of input up front. Don't get me wrong, John Akind has had his time, but I don't think his time is there anymore. And I am shocked as to the fact that we pay him a significant amount of money, and I don't know if it's just
you got him on the back of what he had done rather than what he would do, and I think
I agree.
That's the way football works sometimes.
Yeah, he's just. I don't know what's going on with him at the moment, but there just seems to be no sort of effort. He's dawdling around the pitch, and the only effort I really saw was when he did all the hard work to get in through on goal, and then just doesn't put the final cherry on the top of the cake. So yeah, it's a tough time for us at the moment, but hopefully once we start to get some players back, then we start to turn things around. But yeah, I mean, you can't fault Portsmouth, because if the tables were turned and we were in the same position,
you take it all day long.
Of course you would. Any team is going to take an away victory, and especially when that gives them now 6 on the bounce winning, you're gonna take those, aren't you? So
and Danny Cowley saying of Steve Evans, he's a very unreasonable man when he loses. Didn't shake hands at the end, of course. But for Portsmouth, it's 7 league wins. 7 league games unbeaten, 4 straight wins in League One, which is very impressive. They've turned it around. They're doing well. They're going in the right direction. Moving on, Shrewsbury beat Charlton by 1-0. Johnny Jackson is human, after all, fallible. But
my theory last week was wrong, wasn't it? This first game was going to be losing after getting the job permanently. Maybe not.
Yeah. We got something else. We did another bad take last week, which I'll try and.
Oh, we always do bad takes, James. It's our gist.
We're good at them. But Shrewsbury, 1-0 win. Daniel Ados scoring 3 straight games. He's got 6 in all competitions now. Basically doubled his tally for the season in the last week or so, and he took it well. I thought Cosgrove probably did foul the Charlton defender in the build up to this one, but good battling performance from a team depleted by their own incompetence in the transfer window. It has to be said. I know they've got some injuries. They played a striker, Raquel Pike, at right wing back, who then had to go off injured as well. They had 2 left backs playing in their back 3. They had a right midfielder or right wing back in Bennett playing centre midfielder. Josh Vella was fantastic. Steve Cottrell absolutely loved his performance. Ogbeta playing as a left wing back in the right position, which is good. Ado kind of playing a 10 behind Bloxham and Bowman, which is not a bad sort of front 3, if I can say it properly. But a very important game. I mean, a clean sheet, a win, hard work. For the Shrews, and a late goal as well that didn't give Charlton much time to get back into it. I thought you probably would say Charlton might feel they deserve something from the game. Connor Washington having an effort just wide. I thought that header was going in. When you watch it on the highlights, it's a very unlucky miss. But overall, Ed, this is an important win for Salop, because they're out of the bottom 4. Little bit of momentum, a tough week of fixtures as well, and coming out with the points they have is very commendable.
Yeah, they seem to have picked up in the last month or so, and it's good, because it felt really, really dire, I think, around August, September time. It does seem a bit better now. Not that, they're still looking over their shoulders, as I say, at the moment, but it certainly seems that the confidence in Daniel Ludo could do them well this season. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, if you look at their bench, it's very, very weak, really. They got Leshabella came on and did quite well. He did okay, according to Steve Cottrell. He doesn't always lavish praise where it's undue. He's I have to be honest, he's not a character I like very much. I don't know what your guys' thoughts on Steve Cottrell are. I know he's been through a lot, and of course we wish him all the best in that. But taking that out of the equation and any emotion, just looking at it from a very objective viewpoint for me, I mean, I've no skin in Shrewsbury at all. I just don't really think he comes across well. When he was in that losing streak, he was calling out players, wasn't very supportive of his youngsters. Not a man I would like to work for, I don't think. What's your take on him, Chris? You know, he's been at a few clubs now.
You'd hope he's a bit more, bit better away from the cameras, and hopefully it's more of an act for the cameras. But yeah, I'd agree with that. He doesn't always come across
it's very spiky,
as someone
isn't it?
Yeah, that's I think that's the word. He's not someone I'd like to work for either.
Anyway, a big win for Charlton. Obviously missing Stockley, but they'll be disappointed. But you know, let's be honest, from where they have been to where they are now, that's what's important. They've really moved themselves up the table and pulled themselves away from the danger. Plymouth Argyle, third straight defeat on the bounce. Ed, a 2-1 defeat at home to Wigan. Callum Lang scoring brilliant. I like the way he jumped over the ball and then finished it brilliantly to cause some pretty good limbs in that away end. Great stuff though for Wigan, given the week they've had, to go there and get a victory. They're flying high in the table. They're looking strong. But in the context of what has been a difficult time for Liam Richardson and his players, that's a very good result.
Yeah, brilliant result, much needed really, and yeah, just very good. I really like this Wigan team, and I really have high hopes for them. It's a kind of result to me that you expect from a side to be competing right up at the top of the table.
Any concerns for Argyle? I know it's 3 on the bounce, but they've not looked bad particularly in any of those games, have they?
No, and you look at it, they play as well. They played a Charlton team that were in form. They played at home to Wickham, and I think the last time they beat Wickham at home, I was in primary school. 2007, I think it was. So it's been a long time for Argyle to beat them. Wickham seem to be their kryptonite at the minute. And then you play a Wigan side who are a confident team in themselves. So it's not a great look to lose 3 in a week, but I don't think it's panic stations at all yet.
No, indeed, I'd agree. Let's not get too concerned or too worried by it. Oxford drew 0-0 with Rotherham. That point keeps Rotherham top of the table. Rotherham probably felt they could have won it. I don't know how Smith didn't score in this game. He hit the post with a header in that first half. Really good opportunity. But actually, huge credit to Oxford. 13 players missing through COVID. Kind of a botched up team with Long playing Sam Long playing as centre back. You know, we had James Henry sort of like a right forward. No Matty Taylor. Really some key players missing. And to come against a team as strong as Rotherham and ask as many questions as we did, I'm quite happy with that result. You know, I'd have taken a point all day long going into it, so was very happy that we came away with a point in this one. Ed, your Burton team beat Doncaster 2-0. You asked on Twitter, how is Wellinston in a job?
It's a good question.
Yeah, they're not doing well.
I do wonder it, because they're going down. I'm more confident about them going down than Crew at the minute. They lost to nothing.
Yeah,
it just looks so abject, so void of ideas. It's really, really bad.
It would look very bad on Richie Wellens' CV to have 2 League One relegations. I know the first one wasn't particularly his fault, but that's not a great.
But
great
2 in 2 seasons as well.
Yes, two League Ones indeed. Yeah, and obviously he did well with Swindon, but
great 3 then. Yeah, sorry, Oldham as well.
Well, he didn't take Swindon down though, did he? He'd gone by then.
No, that's it. Yeah.
I was more thinking of Oldham, but yeah, 2.5 then.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Ed is right though. Worried about Doncaster big time. Bolton have sort of arrested the slide somewhat. A 2-2 draw with Cheltenham yesterday. Cheltenham, a really, really good team under Michael Duff. Really, I love them. Great finishes in this one, and a really solid performance on the road. Bolton getting a couple of excellent goals. Was it Kachunga with that one from the right angle?
What a finish that is!
Angle or what?
Yeah, from that angle to finish like that was absolutely superb. I
know we don't want to delve too much on injury crisis because we talked about it already, but Bolton have been hit by a pretty bad one as well.
Yeah, they have.
They've lost some good players.
They're they're down to the bare bones slightly. I've seen some fans saying on social media, and that's a fair assessment. But against people will look at Cheltenham just based on where they've been historically and think, oh, we should be beating them at home. But no, Cheltenham are a very, very good team, very organised, good players. Been together a while, that squad, so they know what they're doing. AFC Wimbledon and Fleetwood drew 2-2, an important point this for the Cod Army. Didn't impress me at all. Simon Grayson gone. No surprises there whatsoever. I think he might struggle to find another job, frankly. But they kept fighting, went 2-1 down after taking an early lead, came back to get a point on the road. It's a difficult team to play, Wimbledon, and important that they get something from a game against a team right there around them, which they'll be very, very happy to have done that. Sunderland beat Cambridge 2-1. 2,500 Sunderland fans packing the Abbey. Nice little ground. I've been there. It's it must have been a rocking atmosphere with that many people in it yesterday. I thought Cambridge did well, but what a goal by Broadhead, a player that was on loan at Burtonhead, I think, wasn't he?
He was, and I didn't realise he had that in his locker.
Great.
That's a great strike. Brilliant for him.
Really, really, really good finish. An important win for Sunderland because they've got high expectations. Their midweek performance against Salop, who had 10 men for a long period of time, and did Sunderland not take the lead? I think they took the lead and then allowed Shrewsbury back into it. But yeah, they weren't great, and they needed this victory, a 2-1 win against Cambridge United. Morecambe lost 4-0 to MK Dons, and I'm just going to say Matt O'Reilly is king. I mean, what a player he is. I've liked him since. I mean, people who listen to this podcast will know I've liked him since they signed him. But I think his development and his progress really in a team that play progressive football has been remarkable.
That front three is still outrageous. We've said it before, but I can't get over how good that team is.
Yes, are they one to keep an eye on, Ed, do you think?
Well, I think they have to be at the moment, don't they? I mean, I can tell there's quite a few teams, but you definitely got to put MK Dons in there.
Yeah, I just like the depth and strength. And it's good to see Darling score, because I'm a big fan of Harry Darling. I mean, one, he's got a very good name.
It just makes me think of the old Chancellor.
They've got Lewington, who just never gets old. He'll be playing like when I've long retired from doing this podcast, I'm sure. He just keeps going. But yeah, Twine, Issa, O'Reilly, Watters as well. I mean, who can come on? Parrott there as well. Watters obviously wasn't involved yesterday, but it is a deep squad. It's a good squad.
It's a proper attacking squad as well.
And they've got Boateng, who was obviously really influential in his time at Cambridge. He's a useful player.
What seems to be noticeable about them as well, when compared to what they were under Russell Martin, there seems to be a bit more clinical edge to them. I think under Martin they were perhaps a bit more patient in possession, whereas now under Manning they go a bit to the kill a bit more. Which
is exactly what I was saying. Just they've got the players that they can utilise to do that. So go for it. One notable absentee, of course, in this one for Morecambe was no Cole Stockton, so of course they lose. But when I was not saying they're a one-man team, but he has been such a great player.
They're not a one-man
team,
but they are a one-man team.
Yeah, he's very influential for them, though, isn't he? In terms of when he does play, they tend to do pretty well.
They do indeed. And Sheffield Wednesday drew 2-2 with Wycombe Wanderers. Not surprised to see Sheffield Wednesday getting a draw. Wycombe, to me, have improved immeasurably since Gavin Cleary's come back into it. They're getting a tune out of Anis Mehmedi now as well. Very good players. Wycombe sitting in third place at this stage. Gareth Ainsworth said after the game he's extremely happy with where they are on the season. One defeat in 14 now for Sheffield Wednesday, who I think if they remain hard to beat and just sort of can get some improvement to turn some of these draws into victories. And they've got obviously Windass back, who's made a difference, a notable difference since returning. Obviously scored in this game as well. Then I do like Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, then they've clearly we know they've got a good squad. We know they probably will improve in January as well because they're a big club. They've got the budget to do that. So they're doing a fine job of keeping themselves right in with the chasing pack, despite not necessarily playing well at times, which is actually a bit worrying, because when they do start playing well and they find a rhythm, which I'm sure under Darren Moore they will, that's when you need to be a little bit worried. Ipswich take on Crewe today, so interesting to see how that one turns out. Crewe sort of one step forward, two steps back with their last couple of results, so interesting one to keep an eye on. But the table shows Rotherham top on goal difference. Wigan right behind them, though they do have a game in hand. Wycombe, Plymouth, Sunderland and MK Dons make up the playoff places, with Sheffield Wednesday, as I've just said, only 1 point outside, despite drawing as many games as they have. Oxford slipping down to 8th, with Portsmouth up to 9th, thanks to that late win at Gillingham. Burton still in 10th position, improved recently with a couple of good results as well. Top half at the moment for both Bolton and Cheltenham, the best of the promoted sides. In the bottom four, Crewe, Doncaster, Fleetwood and now Gillingham. Morecambe just outside it. Shrewsbury's win leapfrogs them to 19th. Right, let's go. It's League Two.
League Two.
And just so people know, I'm going to start off with Carlisle 1, Walsall 0. It is a correct result. It did happen. Carlisle won a game of football.
I don't believe you. No, not having it.
Yeah, they did. And they scored. Tristan Abrahams came off the bench to score.
You are fake news.
I mean, fake news. Yeah, we are a fake news podcast. But absolutely vital win for Carlisle, because they have been, let's be honest, they've been pretty woeful. They've struggled to score goals, and it didn't really look like they were going to get a goal in this one. It looked like being another one of those afternoons where they just don't get the breaks. And to be fair, I thought Walsall did probably deserve something. They had some good chances. Connor Wilkinson looked good. I like Walsall, but not in any sort of equestrian or shade of colour sense. They just
I know you want to do it.
I don't know.
I know you want to do it.
They lost to Carlisle. How can they be one of those things that we must not be named?
Then they pick up a bit of form afterwards, and you start eyeing them up.
At some point this season, he's gonna mistakenly say it.
No. I don't talk rubbish, David.
I'm gonna give it for them if you don't.
David's analysis on this game is that Carlisle scored a goal, Walsall didn't, and therefore Carlisle won 1-0.
I mean, that's the gist of it, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think is it important to highlight as well the ownership issues that Carlisle are now finding themselves in. I saw yesterday they had a few banners up, and
it's not that they really find themselves in it. It's been this way for a while. It's just becoming more public now because of the bad situation they're in.
The custodian
I think the fans
situation.
are being more vocal now.
Yeah, I mean, look, the excuse that managers use when they go to Carlisle is that they can't get players to come to Carlisle because it's it's basically in Scotland, and that doesn't wash with me. The club need to be clever about how they do this. The problem is, if you're a footballer who has to travel up to Carlisle to do your training or stay away from your family, etc., and you're offered a 1-year deal, you're going to either take a 1-year deal somewhere nearer to home, or you're going to find a 2-year deal, which is what happened to a couple of the players that left last summer. So until they change that philosophy, and I understand why they offer 1-year deals, because imagine, you don't want a 3-year deal for a player.
That is the norm. That is the norm in League Two, no?
It is. A 1-year deal is the norm. But if you're Carlisle, that presents problems, because you are where you are.
Yes.
You want to, as a footballer, you want security, especially if you've got family. So imagine if I can't see them offering more wages, because we know the finances are tight, and they're the custodians who run them, Nigel Clibbons and that, they never sanction big money spending. They're always very prudent. So the only way to do it is, if you're not going to offer wage, you offer term. And if you don't offer term or wage, you're going to struggle to get players. It's the way it's been and the way it will always be. How David Holdsworth sort of deflects blame for any of this is it's not surprising, because he's obviously going to do that, but he has to take some responsibility for the recruitment from my perspective, and I'm sure there's a lot of Carlisle fans who probably would agree with that. But celebrating a win yesterday against a good Walsall side, no doubt. They've played well recently, been in good form, obviously beating Port Vale, which was a bit of a grudge match, the Darrell Clark derby. It's not a derby, but it was an important win in midweek, and I'm sure the Walsall fans loved it. Absolutely loved that result. But there you go. A win finally moves Carlisle out of the bottom two at the expense of Oldham Athletic, who got rid of Keith Curle, got Selim Benachour, who gave a very good first interview. I'll give him credit. Did
he?
Yeah, his first interview was great.
Was it? He told them. He said the fans needed to come back. Stop having a go at the fans and have a go at your mates, the owners.
Oh, I don't think he's... well, from me...
He's not going to have a go at the people that have just given him a job, is he?
Well, especially not when he's best mates with the director of football.
Exactly.
I thought his first interview was good, though, because he said we need our fans, but he did say, I understand that the tension between them and the owners is difficult. But I thought the Oldham fans did brilliant. They turned up at Salford, 1,300 of them, 1,400 or whatever it was.
Sold out, yeah.
I quite like this idea that now that Keith Curle's out of job, he's going to go full-blown David Wheater style and just lambast the club at every opportunity he can in the media.
Oh, yes.
Has he done
That's
that
what
yet?
you want to see. I don't think he will, but
I don't think he will.
Goes full-blown David Wheater style.
I mean, I wasn't Keith Curle's biggest fan, as you know, and I think it was the right decision to part ways. It appears it's come from the club side, right?
I just don't know what he does, to be honest.
But that's a reasonable point as well. I don't think Selim Benachour's the long-term option for the club. He's been the youth manager this season, and apart from a reasonable cup run, it hasn't done particularly well with them. And the only name I've seen linked is Martin Jol, which I really don't see.
Martin Jol?
Yeah. Which I
back
don't...
in 2006?
Yes.
I assume you mean the Dutch butcher and not the ex-Tottenham manager.
No, the ex-Tottenham manager. He's not been in management for 6 years. I think his last club was in Israel or something.
Now, I thought it was that bloke. You want some sausages? You want some sausages? That's how he talks, anyway. I mean, I've always joked with my friend at uni that he sounded just like some bloke who would sell you meat products rather than a Premier League manager. Oh my goodness, Martin Yole.
And things, the fans made their voices heard again yesterday, and I don't know where we go. I don't think the players are good enough. I don't think they've got
even Bahambula, and this is coming from me. He's been off recently.
He's not. Yesterday, the number of times he'd do a nice little trick,
and then kick it into touch.
He'd kick it into touch, but he didn't need to do a nice little trick. He just needed to release Burnley or Keelan Dunn or someone. He didn't need to try and beat 5 players. It
You're
was
too lightweight. That's what you are. Bowden, Whelan. Keelan Dunn, Hopkett and Bahambula were your midfield. You don't win games of football in League Two with a midfield like that. And I know Cisse has played badly since coming back from injury, but at least he's experienced and got size. If he gets back to anywhere near the best he can be, I mean, he'd be a better option, I think. But yeah, you need someone in that midfield because you're playing at Salford. One thing they do have is experience in midfield,
and we need someone up front as well. But I mean, the two comments I sort of would sum up yesterday is the defence was sloppy at times. I think McGahey in particular was poor yesterday, and the 2 goals came from really quite schoolboy errors.
Both shocking.
Yeah, and actually, Piagiani had made some good tackles, some good clearances through the game, but those 2 goals were really, really poor. And going forwards, we were trying to lump it up to Burnley. There was no one to try and hold up play, no one to try and muscle the defence. It was just never going to work. All right, we hit the crossbar at 1-0, and that maybe changes things if that goes in. But Salford were poor, and we lost 2-0, and that sums it up.
Yeah, it does indeed, and it moves you down into the bottom 2, which is never a good thing at all. On a more positive note, moving up to the top of the table, Forest Green won again. They've got 40 points already. A 2-0 win against Bristol Rovers. Did have a man sent off.
Promotion chasing Bristol Rovers.
In the same way that Oldham are promotion chasing.
To be fair, Bristol Rovers have
Gillingham
looked better in recent weeks. They have, but they're definitely got a long way to go. I mean, Alfie Kilgore getting injured was a bit of a blow because I really like how he was playing, and I just felt like they've had no Mark Hughes because of an Achilles injury all season. They had Grant moving back into that defence yesterday with Taylor and Harries, and Harry Anderson was back. Anderton was playing left wing back. I mean, the plus sides of this team are definitely Anthony Evans. I like what he's done since joining, and Sam Finley is a very, very good player. And also I agree wholeheartedly with James Belshaw that the offside rule, where a guy runs after a ball even though he's offside, and the linesman doesn't put his flag up until the guy touches the ball or gets near it. That is stupid, because if you saw him midweek, it caused a huge head injury for James Belcher. The guy was offside. The linesman didn't put his flag up until he ran and tackled the keeper in the head, and then put his
I
flag
wonder where
up.
that bandage came from.
Utterly stupid rule.
Yeah.
They do it because something to do with VAR in the. It gives time to check the
VAR,
VAR.
we're in League 2.
Exactly, but the rule
Yeah,
is.
but you got to have the same laws throughout.
Yeah, but the rule was
game.
changed. Yeah, the rule was changed to cater for the Premier League, and obviously that has to trickle down because it has to be the same rule
But
throughout
it's
the pyramid.
stupid. It's stupid. How many
Even though
times
we
do you
don't
see the
have
striker
that system
miles
at this
offside?
level.
No, it gets on my nerves because it's caused a serious injury here for a player. You know, it was so avoidable because the guy was miles offside. You just put the flag up, blow the whistle, and you don't have any incident at all. I mean, he's clearly interfering in play because he's going for the ball. It's not like, oh, we'll wait and see if he gets involved in this move. He's chasing down the goalkeeper and then he studs him in the head. Oh dear, football sometimes just like the lack of common sense in the rules. I mean, I do see why people get frustrated. I really do. Very, very fortunate that he wasn't. I mean, the fact he's playing in this game is questionable. Obviously, they've got Yarpolo out with his Achilles problem that's been a bit long term. But when you saw the stitches he had in his head wound, he shouldn't be playing really. Terrible. But a great result. Wonderful form from Forest Green. They are just. They found a way under their manager just to win all the time and win consistently, something that they didn't really do under Mark Cooper. Mark Cooper's character was, as we're seeing, a little bit at Barrow.
The thing I love about them is this elbow they got with Nicky Cadden. He just I don't know how no one ever picks him up, but he sticks in that left-hand channel, and so you've got that elbow either to switch it out to the left flank or just hit a ball over the top to him to run onto him behind, and no one ever seems to deal with him. He just constantly gets him behind down that left-hand channel, and it's such a threat. Because you know how good his delivery is.
Exactly, and I like the fact that Aitchison's played really well as a number 10. He's kind of reinvented himself. He was a left-sided attacker. He's been a striker, but he's been playing in this number 10 role, which, and Stevenson goes unmentioned. The ex-Colchester midfielder, Ben Stevenson. He has been almost ever present and brilliant in that midfield. Does the simple things well, helps his teammates out, allows Aitchison and Ebu Adams to bomb on a bit, also allows the wing-backs to push forward more. And he's been fantastic. And obviously 10 goals each from Matt and Stevens just tells you why this team is as good as it is. They're clinical, they're scoring, they're very, very good. And things are looking up. But obviously, Ed, you hope they get a new stadium soon, because the traffic in Nailsworth is pretty rubbish, isn't it?
Oh, they're going up to League One with some of the teams that they're in the away crowds. Nailsworth isn't big enough. I mean, the stadium, if I recall correctly, is actually higher capacity than the village's population.
The village has 8,000 in the stadium.
No, less than that. I think the village is about 4,000 and the stadium is about 5.
It's close either way.
They have got to sort that road access out because it's just not doable anymore. With the way that club's going, they need to change it.
Yeah.
Have they got planning permission? Because it was rejected at first.
There was planning permission, I'm sure. It's been the way for a while.
There was planning permission given, and then they elected a new MP at the last election who is now reviewing it again because there's issues around. I think there's a school nearby, and they're concerned about traffic and noise and all that kind of thing. But
kids don't go to school on Tuesday nights or Saturday afternoons.
Well, right, and they're also concerned. They're also concerned that planting a lot of trees on currently just grass would be bad for the environment, something like that.
And a wooden stadium, because it's just not sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't really complain about environmental issues with Forest Green Rovers, can you?
I mean, their owner doesn't appear to be particularly popular in the town of Nailsworth.
Oh, I wonder why.
The village of Nailsworth.
There's also no Wi-Fi in Nailsworth, and I hated that. I had no mobile data at any point until I was back on the M5. I hated it.
Really?
There's nothing there.
Terrible.
Absolutely horrible.
I'm sure I had 4G.
Anyway,
it said I had 4G. It wasn't connected.
2-0 win. 2-0 win for Forest Green. Bristol Rovers. I have to say that I didn't expect them to win this one, and it's probably losing at Forest Green won't define your season for any club this season because they're doing so well. Northampton beat Leyton Orient. Sam Hoskins, a player I really like, getting the winner. Leyton Orient, who I said had the best attack last week. I think this was my bad take because they drew a scunful and then they lost.
It's not a bad take. It's Northampton. There's no shame losing to them, I think.
No, I think it's just I seem to jinx things quite badly. But actually, I thought Leyton Orient played quite well. They had some good chances, and I still maintain that they have a great attacking group of players at this club. And I do feel out of all the teams that are sort of not at the moment in that mix-up necessarily, that Leyton Orient have a great chance of being so, because they've got a good squad. But like you said, yeah, exactly, losing to Northampton, whose defensive record has been superb. Colin Calderwood taking, I think, a lot of credit for that. Am I right in saying he's there with John Brady, isn't he? And you can see they're just defensively beasts. They really are. And they're kind of like the antithesis to Oldham, these Northampton, in the way they defend, because they don't really make mistakes. Well, they don't make mistakes. Their centre-backs are unabashedly excellent. I mean, they didn't even have Guthrie yesterday. They had Sean Dyche's son playing, isn't it? Max Dyche, making his first league start. Didn't he get the assist as well? I think he got the assist.
Is it Sean Dyche's son?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, he did get the assist,
to
Hoskins' goal.
They did lose Tete after 20 minutes, who's been a really good striker for them. But Kambamba came on and did well. Ashley Seal coming on to replace Hoskins. I mean, Hoskins, I don't think gets enough credit for what he's done for Northampton. He's been really, really good since he's been there, and came in with a timely goal, great late run, great finish. Northampton in superb form at the moment and going strong. A team that Dave, have to be fair, was very hot on, and the rest of us probably weren't. It
does amaze me that when Oldham were relegated from League One, we came down with Northampton. In fact, actually, we finished a couple of places above them in League One, and in the same time period, we've dropped to the relegation zones of League Two, and they've already had one promotion out of League Two, dropped back down, and are now looking at getting another promotion from League Two.
Well, they've lost once in their last 8 games and won 6 of them, so they're in great form. I think they've had 8 clean sheets or something ridiculous this season?
They only have 15 goals against, so that.
I'll have a look. Liam Roberts, I'm a liar. Fake news again. He's had 10 clean sheets. Liam Roberts leads the way in the division with 10 clean sheets, and obviously all of them for Northampton. So they've had 10 clean sheets too. I'm doing a Dave there, but really impressive stuff from that team, defensively and altogether. Scunthorpe drew 1-1.
Just got to be obvious.
Exactly. Scunthorpe drew 1-1 with Bradford to continue their slight improvement under Keith Hill. Bradford missing a few key players, it's fair to say, but they haven't been that impressive recently, and I do worry slightly about them. Sutton beat Barrow by a goal to nil. Barrow's form continues to fall off a cliff. Really, really difficult to see. I mean,
Join us.
Yeah, exactly. They are falling fast. Mark Cooper saying in there, I think it was they lost last weekend. It was where he said, basically, in January these players need to worry because can't wait for January. We're going to replace them all, and it's a familiar line that I've heard him say when he was at Forest Green.
It's just Mark Cooper being Mark Cooper.
It's not the best motivator, is it?
It's not at all. And to be honest, he has. Barrow have had COVID issues, and they have had injury issues. I mean, like a player like Jamie Devitt for me when he was at Carlisle was one of the best attacking midfielders, stroke number 10s in League Two. He has not played. I mean, he's played hardly at all since his move to Blackpool, which was a disaster. Let's be honest. He didn't play for the club once, I don't think. Was loaned out to Bradford, got injured. Joined Barrow, has been injured for the vast majority of his time here too. And that's just, they've had Mike Jones out with an Achilles injury. He's just coming back. They've had COVID problems with Stevens and several of their other players. Zanzala missed their really presentable chance in this game for them to rescue something. And Sutton are a great team. Let's not take anything away from Sutton. Ajiboye has been brilliant for them this season. They've asked him to add a bit more clinical edge to his game, and to score a goal in this like he did was a very, very good finish. But he's been a player since his conference days that I've liked the look of. So no shame really in losing to Sutton. It's just the run that they're on is a massive, massive worry. Port Vale bounced back with a 2-0 win against Hartlepool. Ed, we said last week Hartlepool need a manager in quick. It's still the case, isn't it? They just...
Yeah, they definitely need something. And I haven't seen any names linked either, so I'm really wondering why that's so quiet.
Yes, normally
Barely seems to be talked about at the minute.
Keith Curle. Well, at least they're set up to play his 3-5-2.
I mean, I say that slightly tongue-in-cheek, but it wouldn't be the worst fit.
The thing is, I actually quite like their 3-5-2. They do it really well. Well, it's a bit of a 5-3-2 almost. They kind of almost kind of wing backs more than like maybe wide midfielders, I'd say.
Yeah.
With Sterry and Ferguson, but they do a good job there.
Sterry, I think, missing yesterday through suspension. Bad news for
John
Port
Woodgate's the favourite, apparently.
Jonathan Woodgate?
Apparently.
Yeah.
And I know Pete Wild was linked. He has said something about it, but I've not really followed
Jonathan
what he said.
Woodgate, as I live and breathe. Worst debut in Real Madrid history, I think. Probably, wasn't it, Jonathan?
He's got more in his career than just that, Come on.
No, he's a good centre back. But yeah, worst debut. Anyway, so Port Vale, Jamie Proctor. Real sad news is that he's got to go back under the knife for another operation. Came on after missing a large chunk of time due to a hernia. Came on for a second half against Walsall and probably done it again, it sounds like. And we'll have to get an operation. He's been in great form when he's played, so that's disappointing. But Garrity and Pett, the scorers yesterday, midfielders coming good. And a 2-0 win, perfect way to respond after Darrell Clark said he was embarrassed by his team's performance. Rochdale drew 1-1 with Exeter. Really good goal from Max Taylor in this one. And an Exeter team I've liked a lot recently. They're very, very good. Very good. We talked about them again with the depth that they've got. Superb. Yeah. Swindon at home, by the way, they drew 1-1 with Harrogate yesterday. Should have had a penalty for sure. I can't believe he got booked for diving.
Oh yeah, that was harsh.
That was harsh. I wasn't actually that sure about the first penalty they got because I have only seen it once, but it looked more like a slip than a foul. But again, the second one was just blatant, and it's a 1-1 draw. Swindon's home form has been really poor, but away from home has kept them right up. If they can get good at the county ground, they're a team that will definitely be.
I wonder a bit because I remember seeing them against Port Vale. I wonder it's because they're a bit more expansive at home. They're a very fluid side in attacking areas, like getting Kane Kessler headed towards much of the Cans well from right wing back. Maybe they're just a bit more open at home and they're maybe a bit more conservative away, trying off a bit more attacking threat, perhaps on home ground.
Quite possibly. There was a robbery on Friday night in Colchester. Freddie Sears robbed Newport of 3 points. Maybe I'm being harsh, but I definitely felt that looking back at the highlights, Newport deserved to win that game. Dom Telford scoring yet another screamer, hitting the post as well with another outrageous effort. He's in great form. Freddie Sears' 8th goal in all competitions this season, rescued a point for Colchester, and that will, not a bad couple of results they've had against Exeter and Northampton at home in the last couple of games. So good for them. And finally, Crawley lost to Mansfield. Ollie Hawkins with the assist of the day. Wonderful.
Oh, that was an amazing pass,
wasn't it? Yeah, for a guy who's 6'6", who's basically been not labelled. He's been labelled as just like a guy you lump it up to, but that was brilliant. Outside of the right boot, and Riso scoring. Mansfield back in better form, Ed.
Yeah, back in better form. I'm always a bit iffy with Mansfield now because of how we predict them in the past, that there might be a spell around the corner. It is a bit Nigel Goff, to be honest, to go through patches, but it's definitely a lot better than it was looking at 2 weeks ago. Yeah,
great performance by Hawkins. Scores a goal and sets up another in just such a wonderful way. I wonder if they've had issues with centre-backs. Roland Menaes is only on loan until January at Walsall. I wonder if they bring him back in. But they had Rawson,
O'Toole. Surprised he went out in the first place.
I was a little bit. Yeah, they got Rawson, O'Toole, and Forrester yesterday as their three. But a great result on the road at Crawley to pick up 3 points. And let's have a look at the League 2 table then. Forest Green, I say 40 points from 18 games, 6 points clear at the top of the table, having played a game less than Northampton, who are second with 34 points. Exeter in third, level on points with Swindon. Swindon have a game in hand as well. Swindon, Port Vale, Sutton and Harrogate. I mean, great four in the playoffs there. Sutton and Harrogate really defying some pre-season predictions to be up there. Leyton Orient and Newport just outside of it. And it's Scunthorpe and Oldham in the bottom two. That win for Carlisle moves them up one place to 22nd. Stevenage in 18th. Barrow slipping, as we say. They're in 20th place with 19 points. Right, guys, thank you very much for your input today. I hope you've enjoyed giving all your opinions on the lower league.
Too early for a drink?
I need to warm up. I'm still cold from yesterday.
I was going to say, I'm literally laying in bed. I am freezing cold.
I am holding a hot water bottle right now.
Deary me, and it's not even the coldest time of the year yet. Let's.
Oh,
and
no.
I'm off to Antarctica in a few weeks.
Oh,
The irony.
You're going to struggle with that if you find it. Yeah. Although if the Penguins find that their ice cap's melting too quickly, they could always go to Boundary Park in January just to home from home.
To be fair, I think August would be fine.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thanks for your input today. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll be back next week. Until then, cheerio.